Hello, welcome back to Blender Live. In this episode, I want to take a look at this RandomFlow add-on. I've been actually looking at this add-on for a while, and I've been trying to replicate some of the features using geometry nodes, kind of. But after some thinking, and yeah, I decided to just buy this add-on. It's not so expensive, only $15. And basically, the add-on will allow you to create some kind of grebbles. And it's good for concept art and prototyping. So I just gonna jump into it. I watched a couple of videos on this add-on. Once you install it, you basically trigger the add-on using Shift Q. Okay, this is the default. Okay, so I just gonna start. I have this cube. I know the add-on needs some kind of topology in order for this to work, and I need to select at least a face. If I don't have anything, however, I just Shift Q. I know there are a couple of operators and functions. The one that's sort of interesting and simple is like the random scatter. Okay, so that's the first thing, even though the others one are actually the one that's more important. Random scatter. I have cube. I'm gonna scatter some more cubes. So this is the default, and it's kind of nice and sweet. You can do this using geometry nodes. However, this is doing it on the fly. It's actually doing scattering on the cube, and it's creating a new objects. So this is non-destructive. So let's start again. If this cube is a bit longer, Shift Q, random scatter. It does nothing until you actually scrub. So interestingly, it's actually kind of clustering on that side. Maybe I have something selected. Yeah, apparently I have that face selected, so it's only scattering around that area. So that's why I say this is this add-on is very intuitive, and you also, it's like a hands-on kind of add-on. So if you select the face, and it's gonna scatter around that area. I'm gonna select this face and this face, go out to object mode, Shift Q, random scatter. Okay, it's happening. This is the number of objects. You can use a different mesh and collections. You can play around with the scale. This is the universal scale of the scatter, and you can randomize the seed of XYZ of the box. In this case, yeah, it's just the box. There's also options like explode. This will push the instant scatters. Randomize the seed. Cluster, it will cluster the objects into grid, sort of, I think. Okay, so we have this so far. If we actually have more subdivisions, we can start using other features like random loop and random panel. So I'm gonna do that. So in the box, I go to hit tab, and then I'm gonna subdivide. This is just the basic subdivisions. I subdivide a couple of times, and I will select randomly. If we go F3, Blender has select random. So I select random faces, and yeah, I think that should be good. And then I go back to object mode, hitting tab, Shift Q. I can use this loop extrude features. This one has a lot of options. If you look at it slowly, you can see it's kind of like using my face selections, and then it's trying to make like some kind of random extrusion on a different level. I think that's what it's doing. And while doing that, you can subdivide and extrude. So it's you can select like different solver like recursive. I'm not 100% understand the algorithm yet, but I sort of understand it's kind of using my selections and then doing subdivisions and doing it multiple times. For now, I'm just gonna play around with this inset depth. Okay, this is minimum and maximum extrusion, I believe. So let's say I'm happy with that. Okay, so we have like a different objects being created. So it's totally non-destructive. You still have the original. Let's save this very quickly. RandomFlow. This is my first look into this add-on. So again, I'm gonna go to edit mode. I will again select random and then randomize my seed of selections, and then go out to object mode. I'm gonna do the same thing, random loop, and just play around with the height. I'm increasing the percentage of the panel. Base cuts. Base cut, interesting. Triangulations is probably, it's gonna add some kind of interesting details. So it's not just square. Maybe I can play around with that. I can also use inner and outer materials. Okay. So this is what we got so far. What interesting also, I noticed there's this random V color that I believe it's gonna randomize the vertex color, right? And you can use the island. Okay. This is also interesting feature of RandomFlow. You can randomize the seed of the saturation value. So you just wait to add colors if you want to. Let's do one more subdivision. What if I select all of this? Yeah, it's still gonna generate something that's pretty interesting. But probably like, because this is like a hands-on kind of add-on, you might want to have a bit of manual control as well, not just totally random. So Shift Q, random loop, just around that area. This is the seed for each panel. Oh yeah, I think the higher it's gonna get smaller and smaller, smaller. So you start with a bigger panel. Yeah, it's gonna add this very interesting grebble extrusion. And you can subdivide for each level. If you're happy, you can actually save it. I forgot to save it. Yeah, let's say I'm pretty happy with that so far. So let's take a look at the next one. Shift Q. I'm selecting one of these extruded objects. Shift Q, and I'm gonna use random panel. Random panel. We'll do like subdivisions, I believe. Probably easier if you look at this with wireframe. let's take a look at this object, and I'm gonna use F3, select random, Shift Q. This is our original objects. I'm gonna create random subdivisions. Random cut. There's a lot of option here, including the triangulation. So this is when you have like a diagonal cutting. Just gonna do that. Percent number, okay. Margin. So it's doing the inset as well. So that's probably what you want. I'm gonna drop this into original positions. So I can do the same with this panel. Select all the face. Shift Q. Random panel. Okay, yeah. Sometimes it exploded. Maybe that's because of the margin need to be smaller. It's because it's doing inset. Okay, so we have a couple of objects. We can actually use like materials and stuff. I can use Sanctus library material, I think. Metal, smart, assign materials, switch to cycles. Yeah, all right. The color, vertex color needs to be passed into the material. I think it's vertex color. What is this? What's the name of vertex color? The name is actually vertex color. Huh. Interesting. So if I use if I assign material, create a new copy, shader, I can use attributes, vertex color, plug this into the paint, we get some color. Okay, let's get rid of this for now. Gonna continue with our explorations of this. There's a lot of features. The fun one, tubes and cables. Okay, tubes and cables. Let's see. Our original cube over here. I believe with the tube we just select all the edges, for example, and Shift Q, and I just gonna generate random tubes. Okay, it's gonna create like pipes. Offset. You can offset the tube. Play around with the length and the seed. So that should be pretty obvious. Okay, we have control over the curve and the resolutions. Some bevel. Triangulations. Yeah. Okay, this guy is actually a curve, so you can still control the radius of the curve. And on top of that, there's these options to add a flange or coupling. You select the curve and just add some details into this. There you go. Yeah, the original pipe, and there's a, now it has some detail. So again, I can use like a Sanctus material library. I'm gonna use metal. I'm gonna reset the positions. Okay, this guy is also. So the other options like random axis extrude, that's a strange one. I haven't used that. Tubes and cables, I haven't used cables. Cables should be pretty obvious. There's also this panel screws. Panel screws, I believe if we select face like this, and add, yeah, you can add like a screw. Bevel offset, rotation, randomizations, position margin, and offset. Okay. Yeah, it's trying to figure out the panel, and you can control the offset and the, for the, yeah, just for that type of details like a screw. So far, that's pretty much how I understand this add-on tool works. There's other features that I haven't touched, but I think you should get the idea. Get rid of wireframe. These pipes, let's give it steel material. Vertex color, okay, don't forget that. This is metal material, and I'm gonna give a color attributes, which is called vertex color. Yeah, quite nice. Right, you can just do that very quickly. This is also, I think this is the fun part. If you're doing random stuff, making kind of like concept art. Panel screw, random color. If it's too colorful, get rid of the saturation. If it's too dark, play around with this value and randomize the seed. Island offset, okay, cool. Lots of option there. Steel polish, steel pure. Assign material, again, vertex color. And this is the original. That's the original base cube. For the base, I'm gonna give this material. Okay, pretty colorful creations. Okay, so that's basically what RandomFlow is. If you have 3D objects or mesh that's more interesting, like this, like Suzanne for example, and then you go select random, and then use random loop extrude, you're gonna get more interesting result because of the topology of this guy. Yeah, You just need to work it out how much extrusion you need. So that's one, for example, and you do another random loop, but you're gonna use a different select random value, and then you go back and shift Q, random extrude, yeah, some of the value, I mean, you need to be careful with the